Carlos Alcaraz, Jannik Sinner, and Emma Raducanu's paths to final confirmed Indian Wells 2026. Indian Wells is upon us, with the draws for the prestigious ATP and WTA 1000 event conducted late on Monday. Draper and Mira Andreeva will defend their titles in California, the Brit having recently returned from an injury which kept him out of the Australian Open.
Novak may not be a major, but beating Alcaraz.
Novak Djokovic, Carlos Alcaraz, Jannik Sinner, Emma Raducanu, and Aryna Sabalenka have had their paths to the final laid out. There are still some blanks to be filled, but the Indian Wells draw late on Monday etched out some intriguing collision courses. British number 1 Draper will defend the men's crown in California, while Mira Andreeva will put the women's title on the line, having beaten Aryna Sabalenka over 3 sets in last year's final.
A rematch in Indian Wells would be electric. The title in Dallas at the ATX Open, giving him value.
Last week in Dubai, Draper returned from an arm injury which curtailed his US Open run last year and forced him to pull out of the Australian Open in January. Last year's Indian Wells title is by far the most prestigious of the 3 Draper has won in his career thus far. He beat Holger Rune in straight sets in the final, having dismissed Carlos Alcaraz in the semifinals, plus home favorites Ben Shelton and Taylor Fritz before that.
Final. We're getting another chapter in what is quickly becoming.
Novak Djokovic is set to return to the court for the first time since his spectacular run to the Australian Open final, in which he was defeated over 4 sets by Alcaraz. As the years progress, seeing Djokovic in action away from the Grand Slams becomes an increasingly rarer sight, the 24-time Grand Slam champion undertaking a reduced schedule as he aims to harness his energy towards a record 25th major title.
Undefeated. He's confident, and he's already cemented.
Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner will also be in action at Indian Wells, while Sabalenka is set for her first tournament appearance since her crushing Australian Open final defeat to Elena Rybakina. And Emma Raducanu, who split with coach Francis Roig following her Australian Open exit, will also return to Indian Wells, reportedly working with Mark Petchey in the lead-up to the tournament, having enjoyed a successful spell under him last season. When could Draper play Djokovic?
Defeated in 2026 and riding a wave of
I'll come back tomorrow.
Built a reputation.
One of the more tantalizing segments of the draw sees Draper and Djokovic on an early collision course. Draper's seeding is down at number 14 owing to his recent injury struggles. As such, he is a little closer to Djokovic in the draw than he may ordinarily have been. And with both receiving an automatic bye into the second round, like all seeded players in the draw, Draper and Djokovic could meet in the 4th round to determine a quarterfinal spot. Draper will face either Fabian Marison or Roberto Bautista Agut in the 2nd round, with a potential 3rd round clash against number 19 seed Francisco Cerundolo.
Waves through the tennis world. Novak may not be a major, but beating Alcaraz.
Djokovic, meanwhile, will play the victor of the 1st round match between Kamil Majstrak and Giovanni Mpetshi Pericard, potentially facing number 31 seed Corentin Motet in the 3rd round. Alcaraz's path to the Indian Wells final. The world number 1 could not have possibly started the 2026 season in a more perfect manner. After becoming the youngest player to clinch the career Grand Slam with his maiden Australian Open title, Alcaraz lifted his 2nd trophy of the year in Doha last month.
A rematch in Indian Wells would be electric. The title in Dallas at the ATX Open.
The Spaniard is a 2-time Indian Wells champion, becoming the youngest winner of the event in 2023 before defending his title 12 months later. As has become a regular occurrence in tournaments in recent years, Alcaraz finds himself on the opposite side of the draw to Sinner, with the world's top 2 only able to meet in the final on Sunday, March 15th. He will face either Terence Ottman or the now unseeded Degree Dimitrov in the second round, with the number 26 seed Arthur Rinderknecht in the bracket as a potential third-round opponent.
The desert is about to explode. Because when the draw true hierarchy. Slow courts.
Casper Ruud and Valentin Vacheron are the seeds Alcaraz could meet in the fourth round, with Alex de Minaur and 2021 champion Cameron Norrie in the same quarter of the draw, meaning they could face the Spaniard with a semi-final spot on the line. Due to Draper and Djokovic falling in the other quarter of the draw but in the same half, either of them could potentially set up a semi-final with Alcaraz.
Open final. Right in the heart of tennis paradise. Versus Djokovic. Sinner versus Shelton.
Sinner's path to the Indian Wells final. With Alcaraz, Djokovic, and Draper all in the other half of the draw, Sinner's side seems less congested, but with some obvious threats who could be dark horses for the title. Tomás Martín Echeverry could be his opponent in the third round, but the Argentinian will first have to face either Stefanos Tsitsipas or Denis Shapovalov in the second round.
I'll come back tomorrow.
Built a reputation as one of the most explosive players.
Tommy Paul and Karen Khachanov make up the seeds in that quarter of the draw, with the unseeded João Fonseca posing a threat. That's all we can say. More or less understandable. Hopefully you support our channel by liking, comments, sharing, and subscribing, so that we are enthusiastic in creating information content.
The desert is about to explode. Because when the draw